Here we go.
Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call.
Yo, it's the season.
Yeah.
Like I shared the light.
Yeah.
To have a good reason.
Yeah.
To talk about that site.
Roll call. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
It just took so long to start.
Yeah.
My buzz is
Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call.
Unpaid bill.
Yeah.
And Lordy Lord.
Yeah.
Let's talk about life.
Yeah.
And the OkayPlayer boys.
Roll call. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call.
It's like
Yeah.
And oh my God.
Yeah.
Phonte and Nicolay.
Yeah.
OKP Dream the made us.
Roll call. Suprema.
Shut up.
Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call.
My name is Nick.
Yeah.
And I'm a Cancer.
Yeah.
I'm good at music.
Yeah.
Not much of a dancer.
Roll call. Suprema. Suprema, roll call. Suprema. roll call.
My name is Phonte.
Yeah.
And I won't be boring.
Yeah.
Me and him had an exchange.
Yeah.
Now I'm whipping a foreign.
Roll call. Suprema. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call. Suprema, roll call.
Wow.
We
like-
did it.
Like Japanese card?
Nah, it is a Japanese card. It's actually, yeah, I mean, it's technically a foreign, but yeah. It's,
No, that was good bars.
yeah, it ain't German. It ain't, I don't know. I don't do that.
Wait, what kind of card you got?
Alexis?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
okay.
Alexis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hey, listen, it works
Hey,
for
man.
me. Great gas mileage.
Yo, Toyotas are the best.
Yeah, man, you ride that thing forever.
Hey, I just got my Scion fixed yesterday.
Ahmir, you still got that silver sign?
I'm still hanging on.
What's-
It is the 20th anniversary of me getting my driver's license.
That is
What's
crazy.
funnier than Questlove and a Scion?
And I still
Not
have the
much.
same-
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Like, am I driving a classic car now that I've been driving the
Yeah,
Scion
the
for
kids
20
don't
years?
know what a Scion
Yeah,
They're boxy,
they don't
but
even
they're
make
good.
that car no more,
They
do
don't.
they? Yeah.
I don't think so.
So how do you get it serviced?
I got the guy that drives me around now. He has a
Does he drive this?
hookup. He has a hookup in the Heights where they got.
You get
I
anything.
just did a very loaded thing.
Yeah.
What else do you
There's
get
a
up
lot of garages up there in the Heights.
Yeah.
And
Let's talk about it.
Talk about the heights.
Shop.
They
Understood.
this is a hell of a way to start this episode. We are live in New York. Well, we're not live. We're in New York City.
Yeah, man.
We
We're
are.
in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in
In person.
person.
This is live.
Good,
Yeah.
Steve.
Good to shout out to Phontigallo for getting up early this morning.
Yeah,
Did
man.
I hear that you say that you did not get sleep?
Not really.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't really. We had
Yeah.
I got in this morning. Yeah. We had the movie that he scored. We had that yesterday. That was at Full Frame Festival. So that was like all day yesterday, and then we rolled out 6 this morning. Got here at like 8, and just been up ever since. So.
Well, since Phonte had already assisted us on that, we might as well introduce our esteemed guest. And I guess you can say that this is a special episode because, of course, this being
25 years.
yes,
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah,
at 20.
man.
Shit.
Well, it's 20 for Foreign Exchange. It's 25 for OkayPlayer.
OkayPlayer, yeah.
Oh, wow.
right.
Yeah,
So
man.
being as though this is like 25 years of what OkayPlayer is, I guess we're still trying to define what OkayPlayer was, but it was if there was ever a moment I wouldn't mind flexing the very played out "what a time to be alive" hashtag.
Man.
I would say that probably OkayPlayer is one of those moments in which
Big facts.
I think everything that I intended it for that site to be actually came to fruition, which is that people connected with each other way above than that just being a roots website, but people were able to do that. And probably one of the most pioneering moments that will have defined how it is that we make music and how we stretch. You know, before OkayPlayer, like I lived at a time when you went to Europe, that was Europe. When you did things in the States, that was like, now it's colonized and stretched out. And the fact that the storied journey of how Phontigallo and Nicolay met and hooked up on OkayPlayer, but you know, even that, this is a dream interview for us to finally get you guys, because you're such a, you two to me are the actual physical result of what happens on the internet when it's a good thing.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That could go
Thank you,
many
man.
different ways. I just want to point that out. That statement was a whole.
When internet
much
hookups
larger.
go right.
Right.
Internet
Purely
goes right.
platonic.
Yeah, Phonte and Nicolay, done.
Yeah, it's just platonic.
Nothing else.
Yeah, so that's it. Nicolay, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
It's weird. I know the legend of foreign exchange. Hopefully, this will be what I initially intended the Deez is a Mural episode to be.
Oh my God.
Before it
We could
just
never
went,
air today.
before it went totally left.
Off the rail.
Maybe if you guys aren't familiar with that legendary episode, there's a lot of inside baseball talk about what OkayPlayer meant as a community. This hopefully will be a more nuanced, better version of that episode. So,
Shouts to Jesus and Miro though. That was
definitely.
That was
That's,
a fun episode.
that to me is one of like are the funniest moments, at least for me, even though it was a lot of inside baseball. Nicolay, what is your first musical memory?
My first musical memory is hearing "Secret Life of Plants" by Stevie Wonder, which my mother owned. I credit a lot of my musical interest and taste to my mother's music collection. And I have a distinct memory of I must have been 5 or 6 years old, and feeling the braille on the cover of Secret Life and Plants while taking in the sounds. And I think looking back, the synthesizer pioneering more so than anything else, Ecclesiastic and some of those like that had a massive influence on me. And that must be one of the first, if not the first, true musical memories that happened sort of before I consciously got into music and was interested in music. And like, shout out to my mom for that, for sure.
How old were you in 1979?
I was 5 years old.
That is so crazy.
I'm a 74. Shout out to all the 74 babies. But yeah, I distinctly remember that record, and I would argue with people a lot about Songs in the Key of Life versus Secret Life of Plants and how they were kind of back to back and so different in so many ways. And for me, I never had that connection with songs that I did with Secret Life of Plants, for the very reason that it hit me so profoundly as a kid. And it was such a I have a specific memory with each of the songs. With Black Orchid, with Come Back as a Flower, with Tree, Race Babbling. I think it really shaped me.
All right, so just to give our listeners just a little backstory, because I had the opposite experience that you had, even though you and I had the same shared experience. In my house, I lived in, like when classic hip hop records came out and we discussed it on OkayPlayer, and then it would be like 900 threads of like that happened before the internet, and especially in my household, in which there were so many musical experts. A Stevie Wonder record actually had the power to make someone have like almost a 4-hour summit meeting. The day that Songs in the Key of Life came out, that September of '76, both Songs in the Key of Life and Spirit by Earth, Wind and Fire came out the same day.
Yeah, that was, wow.
And that was also the first day of school for me. So that day was like a major event. Like, we got home early. We sat as a family and sat in front of the record player to see like what the else, because it's 2 years since fulfilling this first finale. So it was such an event in my household that come 3 years later in '79, when we had that same anticipation, opening the record and listening, and man, to watch
It was not that.
to watch my father's face
Oh, yeah.
during the Earth's creation. Yo, I just
Supposed to be like that.
I've never seen my dad cry until maybe like 1984 at a funeral. But the day I saw the day that music died for my dad, and it was such a heartbreaking. Like he just looked at the floor like I've lost hope in humanity.
Wow.
But for me, any albums that were rejected by my dad's band or them, I would wind up inheriting.
Yeah.
And so I inherited that record. And so just like you, that was my Dark Side of the Moon. Like mainly because it's like, oh, it's something I own, and I would listen to it in the headphones and imagine.
And I loved everything about it. I loved the photo of Stevie in the booklet.
Right.
I loved the fact that there were Japanese lyrics
Right.
included. The Braille. I
Right.
didn't know what that meant at the time, and then I think I asked my mom, like, "What is this?" And the lime green cover, or if I'd have to describe it, maybe almost pastel.
Right.
Like it was so. It wasn't just the music; it was the totality of that record, and it wouldn't have happened on. It was vinyl. It was just a big, beautiful.
Did you ever ask yourself, because the one time I realized that there was such a major pushback on that record, like besides I would dismiss my dad's thing, like him shit talking about like Stevie lost it, I'm so disappointed, was like when I started going back to read like reviews, and it got a lead review in Rolling Stone, and they went to town on it.
Are you
like,
serious?
It's almost in a way like, I don't know if I should be this honest about it, but almost when Glover's Camp got a 1.9 in Pitchfork.
Okay.
Like I almost felt like that almost caused like not a there was an energy shift between he and I, and I almost felt like that devastated him so much to know that I knew about, because I instantly hit him like, yeah, man, don't like
we
ignore
all
them.
got Pitchfork like
Right, but I mean,
terrible
I'm just-
reviews. I certainly have a few.
But just until like maybe 3 years ago, I truly let the opinions of a critic go.
Okay.
You know, like
up.
I didn't go back to look at the movie, like none of that stuff. Like I now make art because like I want to make beautiful art, not like, oh, this will keep our rating high or whatever. But
Word up.
I didn't realize like how much of a beating he took for that record.
Me neither.
And
Me
you know.
neither. And in fact, like I weighed everything that I heard by Stevie after that. I compared it to Secret Life, and it didn't
Right.
always live up to me because of like, and I think like we could talk about this later, but like my love for synthesizer pioneering, what Stevie was doing with the CS80 on that record, and a lot of the like I think it, looking back, it's clear why the larger public didn't really get it, but for the nerds, if you will, like it checked all the boxes because he was going further. But I still think it had like Comeback as a Flower is up there for me.
Now, Power
Like-
Flower
like,
is one for me.
yeah,
That's
like
power.
Black
I think
Orchid,
that's
like-
the only record I can think of that Stevie's singing falsetto in. I can't think of no other
What
record.
song?
Power Flower.
Oh wow, that's
Yes.
a good. Yeah.
Like he's not.
You're right.
I gotta go back.
Yeah,
You're
he's
so
not.
right.
Yeah, I've never heard him sing falsetto on nothing else.
Yeah.
So when I heard songs after that, I was like, yeah, this is cool.
so
but
you discovered songs proactively.
Yeah, anything like I think the second thing I heard by Stevie was the musical the
Music
compilation,
Aquarium.
the
Right,
music
right,
aquarium.
right.
That had
Stevie's
Do I Do
original
and-
music aquarium, and it had like Living for the City, I think, and it was like, all right, I'm hearing more of what I like.
Right.
But like everything that I've heard after, and it's largely probably because of the warmth of the memories involved with it. Everything thereafter didn't quite have the same magic for me.
So now that I hear this, it makes even more sense at you guys. The day you guys covered
If
not
She Breaks
just
Your Heart.
If She Breaks Your Heart. To me, like I still have a dream that somehow, if the masters of the Jungle Fever soundtrack
Bro.
get free, I have such a dream of just hearing that same. I've never heard an album which song structure, I like it.
But the
Melodically, I like it.
instrumentation and
But just if he changed the instrumentation on it, like that, he could have pulled a Winehouse. But I don't know if if he did a Fulfilling This First Finale or whatever, like sonically made it sound like that, would have had the same impact. But hearing you guys like update his sound but still keep Ah man.
Nah, If She Breaks Your Heart, it's just a beautiful song, man. I just thought it needed to be updated, but
Yeah.
it's a great record. I love that song.
So let me ask for you guys, because by that point, at least the point where I realized that OkayPlayer was just bigger than a website for some acts to post announcements on. You also just have to sift through the many personalities, because you guys are on a constant blind date. Like there are many people to whom I've had interactions with that, you can't see what they look like, or you don't, I don't know what trolling is or none of that stuff. But you guys have to find each other.
It's the story of the court. So, what's the story?
Yeah,
of the
like
courting
how did you
of y'all
guys?
two?
Because even in my mind, even though you are definitely a charter member, I do have, at least in my social circle, I have an inner circle, like around one, around two, and you were always around 3 person. Like we never, even though we talked a lot, not to the level of.
Nah, for sure.
So how did you two meet?
Yeah, it was. I think this was back in it was 2002.
Yeah, I think 01.
01,
we
probably.
first sort of found each other in the same topic.
In the same topic, yeah. So with him, and I didn't know anything about this guy. I didn't know. We would even joke with the crew, yo, is Nicolay, is it a girl? Is he a girl? It was just a name on the screen. We had no idea. And so, but I feel like I remember it was a Radiohead topic, and he jumped in the thread. But I just kept seeing him in threads, and I would notice that he had a lot of the same taste that I did. We liked a lot of the same shit. And so I was like, okay, I kind of fuck with him. And so then one day he just came and was like, yo, this is a new track by me. And I'm like, okay. And so I listened and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I reached out and I was like, hey man, would you mind if I did something to this? We got MCs over here. What, and he was like, nah, man, go for it. And so
the famous DM.
Yeah, we hit DM. Yeah, we put it's in the LP doc. And so the first time we did the first record was, I think, was it Light It Up? Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was the very first one.
Yeah.
Light It Up and Nick's Groove
And
was
Nick's
a
Groove.
twofer that we did. And if I may rewind, I think for me, I think I might have a unique perspective on OkayPlayer as a European.
Yes, I want to know how you came into the community.
It was sort of finding connection with this completely different universe. I saw you. Okay, I bought Voodoo in 2002. It must have been April, right? Something like that. May.
It came out in January.
Okay, well, I may have been late, but
Yeah.
either way, I was familiar with the roots, but I hadn't really ever heard full albums. I was familiar with Common,
Right.
but Voodoo was
So Voodoo brought you to OkayPlayer?
Voodoo brought me to OkayPlayer because I looked at the booklet and because I was very interested, and it said OkayPlayer, and I had no idea. So Voodoo brought me to OkayPlayer. That summer, I saw you guys twice on the Voodoo tour. Once in The Hague for the
Yes.
North Sea Jazz Festival,
And
once in Belgium, which was an open air daytime show.
Didn't Third Base open up for us?
I don't remember that. I know Slum Village opened for y'all in Belgium. It wasn't with JD, but it was.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a religious experience in many ways in Belgium specifically because it was during the daytime. So it was it hit very directly, and I remember you guys hitting "Send It On," and I was crying. I'm not saying that just to blow smoke. It was that.
Yo, dog.
And so 2000 is when I learned about OkayPlayer, but then it took me a while to get to the boards because that was sort of the second layer. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it took me a while to get to the boards, and then it took me a while to go from lurking to posting. I signed up, I got a username. At that point I was going under Nicolay, which is my third first name. I have 3. I was baptized. I have
to know
3
that whole
first
name.
names, and it seemed like the most international sounding one.
Right.
So I registered that Nicolay Music username.
What did they call you back home? Just on
Matthias.
Okay.
Matthias, yeah.
What's
And
all
so-
3 names? Just go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, Matthias is what the person behind the
Right.
screen. I guess the man behind the curtain.
Okay.
So it took me, I think, a year maybe to go from discovering the site to realizing that there was the lesson particularly. I've never been on any of the other, I was specifically a
he's a
lesson
lesson
head.
head,
yeah.
I didn't really do general. I didn't
You're
really
an
do.
elitist.
So
Okay,
the lesson,
elitist.
so
Okay,
he's
Steve.
basically saying that the thing that brought him to our listeners out there, we would have boards, and the boards was like a playground,
Different subsections.
or like a nightclub, and then
But the lesson was for the snobs, the music snobs who knew
yeah,
tall.
I was on the lessons.
Yeah, I was
board
a lesson
more
head.
than I was supposed to be on like the general,
Okay
not
artists.
the general, the okay artists. Like
Nobody went to OK Artists.
Right.
Like, nobody
Well,
went to OK
newbies,
Artists.
newbies would go there, like, is this really you, and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
people either went to general when they were trying to get some.
General was Rikers.
Yeah.
Yeah, general was Rikers
Gen Pop.
Island.
Full
That's
Gen
Gen Pop.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Yeah, that
Right,
shit was the
and then the
jungle.
lessons were for like the dweebs.
Yeah.
And so for me, like just in Europe, I didn't have connection with a lot of people that liked the music that I liked. For a variety of reasons. I'm not really sure why. You earlier asked like what was my favorite or what was my first interaction with hip hop, and it was actually 3 Feet High and Rising.
Okay.
89, I guess.
Yeah, 89.
And that like I was kind of a metalhead before that time, like ironically. But something about sampling really appealed to me. And so I heard 3 Feet High and Rising, and then I started getting into, the first Tribe album and stuff like that. So like fast forward 10 years, I'm full on hip hop, and so I think I didn't have a lot of people around me.
Well, can I ask something?
Yeah.
And you can educate our viewers. Okay, so of course now, because everything is colonized,
Yeah,
and
right.
If Drake is to release a song, we're all going to
It's
get it
everywhere.
at the same time. Can you explain what the process was like before the internet and how it trickled down and got to you?
So in the early 90s to maybe mid 90s, we started getting Yo MTV reps on the European MTV.
Okay.
And that is when, so it was, I want to say a nightly, and then on Saturday they had the Fab Five Freddy hours or whatever.
Right.
And so I just started watching that. And so anything, like it wasn't like we had a lot of that on the radio. There was a hip hop show that every week would play, like, I remember hearing Come Clean for the first time, J. Rue, and, like Ice Cube and stuff like that. But it was Yo MTV reps. And then seeing everything like the leaders of the New School episodes, I was taking all of that in.
Famous fight episode.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
Yo, what you say?
Yeah. So it was like TV, I guess. But at the same time, I was kind of like I had a best friend in high school who was also very like his favorite stuff was Duck Down. Like he was super into like UGK and all that stuff.
Right.
And so together he and I went to hip hop shows in Amsterdam at the Paradiso. Saw like stuff like Onyx and we went to all of the shit that we could find. Stuff, my bad.
No,
all right, we're good.
yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Have you
so-
met Phonte?
Really though.
Right. So yeah. So OkayPlayer for me was literally, and I think I only realized that after the fact, a direct connection to the culture that I really, really was interested in.
Did you realize, because this is the thing, I've had conversations with people, the 1980s generation that got hip hop, like to hear Moni Love describe that she can hear her voice on those Public Enemy interludes on a Nation of Millions, like the interstitials of which they're doing the top of the fresh, what are the who's the Funk Master Flex of the UK?
Westwood.
Tim Westwood show. Like Moni Love can actually, if you listen to that funky drummer loop, anybody scream, you hear the one girl scream, like Moni Love, that's her voice. Like,
Wow.
So to hear an 80s generation describe that, but we can all attest, and especially Phonte and I, that there's a different type of hip hop fan, like post 94,
Right.
post 95, that you fall under.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I notice, and a lot of artists, especially now, J. Rue the Damager had to move to Europe,
Right.
just to make a living. So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
lives there now
Oh, really?
because that's like, but it's a lot of acts that are doing that. At any point, did you realize that's really a culture that is tailored for Europe? Like there was no place in the United States in which
we weren't appreciating it like
The
yeah.
Roots could sell out
Yeah.
the Parisian version of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Where Prince played like
Right.
a bunch of times.
But,
yeah.
you know,
But not at home.
we can't do that here.
Right.
At any point, did you realize that that level of hip hop, like that was the true home of it? Or did you still think of it as an American thing? Like,
I looked at it.
what did you
as
think
an-
we were doing in America at the time?
I wasn't raised on the like I even didn't really, you know, the classic Run DMC stuff or something like
Right.
that. I had no clue. Like you said, I came on board in the early 90s, but my true fandom was like 95, 96, all the way up to 2000 when I bought like stuff like Water for Chocolate, which was and I don't think I realized that. In fact, I felt kind of isolated over there, specifically musically, because what I liked was in my group of people perceived as American.
Okay.
And-
They thought
and
that
my
was R&B
sound,
American, not softer.
Even my sound, when I first started making music,
Right.
a lot of people over there felt it was kind of slick and a little American. And I didn't realize at all later, like now what you're saying makes perfect sense. Like, but for me at the time, it was an American thing. And I think subconsciously realized that if I wanted to make music like that, I needed to connect with Americans.
So the slur word over there is it sounds America. Whereas that
Yep.
same type of music here, I think they would just say like, oh, that's soft. You know what I mean?
Yeah, smooth. Soft,
it's
like,
emotional.
Yeah,
It's
because
emotional.
over there, like the type of hip hop that exists there natively is more abstract. Is more, it's not necessarily purely musical per se,
Right.
But it's very aggressive, and a lot of it is local language based at this point.
Who was the biggest local artist that had the biggest pull over there?
Man, like I think that's a great question. I didn't really listen to any of them.
Okay.
Because like a lot of them were Dutch language artists, and I never thought that sounded very good, and that was probably a little snobbish of me. But I really liked
Was everyone trying to be like DJ Premier or like?
even more abstract, just not really anything.
Like People Under the
maybe
Stairs, or?
maybe like Company Flow or some stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow, okay.
Like real
So all Def Jux.
Definitely not what I did.
Okay.
Definitely not with like chord progressions or like bass lines that fit the key or like.
And whoa. Let me clean it up. I'm a massive fan, like Cannibal Ox, like the first generation.
Yeah, I
of-
didn't mean that as I meant that more
Right,
as
right.
like
They
a
weren't
style.
doing that. Yeah.
There's always
reference.
one troll that's going to be like, you know.
No. I definitely didn't mean that.
I don't want
as
the
a
Detroit
diss.
singer effect.
Yeah, I was,
Hashtag.
Oh wow.
I was gonna say something.
Sorry.
Keep my shit to myself. Here we go.
No, I guess I mean it more as a style that is more marked by a certain level of expression versus like again, like when I heard like Water for Chocolate, like production wise, or when I first heard Fantastic Volume 2, or even when I later heard Things Fall Apart, which was a little bit later for me,
Right.
or Voodoo. Those were the albums that made me realize, like, okay, so you can make hip hop and make it beautiful, versus you have to make hip hop that is aggressive. Not that there wasn't, you know what I'm saying, but like it was for me a realization when I first came into contact with hip hop. I had a very naive understanding of like,
Right.
there's a guy with turntables who is making the beats. For instance, Tribe Called Quest, that's how I sort of saw it. You know, you have the
You felt
two
the guy
rappers.
that was DJing was the
and
guy
then
that-
Ali
Right.
is making the beats with the vinyl. And
Right.
it wasn't until later that I found out, like, okay, there is actually people doing this that are more musical inclined. And so that was for me sort of like really kind of the eye opener of like, okay, I understand now that there's something that I could contribute to this music.
This is real important for me to hear that because there's part of me that has a glass half empty view of how the community sees the music. And for the most part, I always felt like whatever notoriety that we got, we were only chosen because we weren't gangster rap. Like the amount of times that someone will performatively come up to me backstage to differentiate themselves, like, yo, man, like, I like y'all because, you know, y'all don't be killing bitches and y'all don't be selling drugs. It's like, and y'all don't care about success. Y'all don't care about getting paid.
Definitely do.
No.
So again, the idea, and that's the thing, I know I know in their mind they're thinking like, wow, they're trying to give me a quotable that I remember like, yeah, that one fan in Boise, Idaho that just likes
said,
me
"I'm
for
so
me and
happy
not
you
my
broke."
looks.
Right.
And really, I only walk away thinking like, oh man, they hate Snoop Doggy Dogg, so they only like us because we're the
Yeah.
opposite of that, which is really not
Which
saying
are
why
not.
you
Yeah,
like.
right.
This is like one of the rare times in which I'm hearing, like I felt chosen. Even
Yeah,
though,
oh, yeah,
yes, I
yeah.
know that for everyone to be on OkayPlayer,
Right.
for me, like the fact that I allow people to just slander us and talk shit over there have more or less about me just feeling to justify like my non-deservedness. But
Right.
I will say that this is a really good time for me to hear that, oh, someone actually just liked the music and gravitated towards
Not
it.
only that, but it made me feel like I had something to contribute. Like I wasn't a DJ. I've never really truly done vinyl. I'm an instrument guy. I started out playing guitar, bass, drums, some keyboards, and so I had always played in bands. I didn't have a beat making background in that sense, but what I heard in those records, y'all's records, The Common, was musical layers on top of drums, if I had to just put it very basic, that told me that there was a place for a musical approach to production. It wasn't just about two turntables, but like added keyboards, added guitars, added like basically whatever y'all would like, Rhodes, like obviously
ear
the
candy.
Rhodes,
Yeah.
ear candy, that made me think like, okay, wow, like I can actually probably contribute something to this.
But did you realize in prime Roots time, in 95, 96, in 2001, 2002, that I'm going to go bin shopping with Giles Peterson or do a lot of, I'm almost certain, I still believe to this day, I did like $2,000 worth of record shopping in Amsterdam. And I think the records are still in their basement because I forgot to mail it home. But like, I would have to go to Europe to get the music that's going to help me make the music
That's crazy.
that you think is coming from America, but really like it's coming from you. It is those obscure bands from Holland or the prog rock group. So at any point, is it registering to you that you're actually kind of at an advantage where you live in the place where a lot of tastemakers, the Giles Petersons of the world, are exposing y'all to music that otherwise only very few people are doing it in the United States right now?
I think not.
Sorry for these nerdy ass
No,
questions,
this is a
but-
great question actually. I don't think to that extent, but like there were a lot of European strands of music at that time happening that I think I was influenced by that gave me a leg up over here, like For Hero in UK, like Jazzanova in Germany, like some of the more down tempo stuff in France. So when I put my music out to the world in the States, people said it had a European feel. And again, ironically, back home, people were saying that stuff sounds American. I had no idea. I think I perceived all of this music as purely American. And I don't think I had the sophistication of knowledge at the time to realize that it was kind of a full circle that sort
That
of...
really you're in places where
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
So
Not
did
at
you
all.
think like we were like all in America having like, poetry slam meetings, like everything that you talk about in
Right, yo.
Sandals on and capris?
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, like did you think like we were just like, cutting up coconuts and guava?
I don't think it was to that extent, but I definitely heard. I think maybe it was because of the perception of the Roots as a band.
Right.
I heard something that was not a guy on a beat machine. I heard
Oh, okay.
a more richer kind of sound that made me think like a lot of it was played by instruments. And again, the instruments is what appealed to me because I didn't know how to make a beat, but I knew how to play a bass guitar. You know what I mean?
Like, how far were you from Amsterdam?
So I grew up in Utrecht, which is
Oh,
half
Utrecht,
an hour.
where the
You
North
would
Sea-
call it a suburb of Utrecht. Used to be it's a 1,000 years old city that used to be a Roman outpost, but it.
And that's where the North Sea Jazz Festival is held, right? Or
Nah, that was in The Hague.
The Hague,
and
okay.
now I think nowadays it's in Rotterdam. They moved it from The Hague to Rotterdam.
I thought Utrecht and
But I went to school in Amsterdam because that was the thing that you did. Like when I finished high school, I went to school in Amsterdam, largely because I didn't know what to do. So I started musicology at the University of Amsterdam.
Okay.
And I started going to the Paradiso, which is a venue you would be familiar with.
yeah, very, we are.
So that was, we got a lot of great, like I remember seeing Wu-Tang for the first time. They were in Holland. And
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Okay. As a Holland resident,
right.
how frustrating was it for you? Because here's the thing. Now, it's 2024, so kind of perception and the relationship with cannabis and weed
Oh, man.
now is like it's getting nationalized and slowly but surely. I think right now Germany's voting to see if they'll legalize it totally.
Right.
So, the world's open up the reins, but like, of course, in the late 1990s, early 2000, in people's minds, like the whole Pulp Fiction thing, the gloried story of like, you gotta go to only in Amsterdam and Holland.
Yeah.
Can you get fucked up and not get fucked
arrested.
up?
Yeah,
Right.
It was great.
And so as a result, like the amount of shows that I've saw, just the amount of artists,
Right.
because a lot of artists, when they start their European tour, they would make Amsterdam the hub first.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's go there a few days earlier and go to all these coffee shops.
And
And
they
then,
would.
And fuck your tour all the way up.
Right, right. And
Straight
so, in my mind, a lot of the most adventurous route shows
Right.
were in Amsterdam,
And adventure is
Catherine
probably
j-
one way
Yeah,
to
what's
put
an
it.
adventurous route show sound like?
where they might hit 4 or 5 coffee shops before we get on stage.
Got it.
So even though the muscle memory is strong, the most closest to freestyle shows where it's just like,
I about to say it's like a fish show. Almost. Like,
yeah,
it's
but
like
I
fish-
mean, not
it's
like
a
that. The
jam
thing
band,
was,
it's like-
I wasn't partaking, so at least like I could,
oh yeah, obviously you designated driver.
right?
Gotcha.
Because Tariq might forget the third verse to Mellow My Man, and then we gotta, But I also feel as though those shows excited me because I didn't know what to expect, and so I always wonder if people in the audience get frustrated looking at us like, dumb Americans. They always get fucked up before they come on stage, and now they're falling all over and forget their lyrics. Like,
I can confirm that.
have you seen a good hip hop show in Holland where nobody was so fucked up they couldn't perform?
Yes, I've seen both. So I've seen like Lords of the Underground, circa Funky Child. Amazing, amazing show.
They were focused.
They were focused. It sounded incredible. Like Paradiso, as you know, is
Yeah,
an
the
old
sound
church.
is-
Yeah.
Sound can be very finicky there, but it was amazing. And I'm not afraid to relate this anecdote.
Well, it's 30 years
The first
later
time
now.
Wu-Tang came to Amsterdam,
No
Yahzarah
way.
apparently, like, you know how Paradiso has the dressing rooms in the basement?
Yeah,
Yes.
And you go up the stairs to the stage.
To the balcony. Yes.
And so Yahzarah apparently was so high that he wouldn't come out of the dressing room, and they brought the microphone down using the stairs.
What?
So
the show
there
from
were
there?
a lot of shows where you could tell like it was impacted.
So you
by-
just expected
yeah,
American
to whatever
artists to be
degree.
fucked up.
And the thing for people in Amsterdam is like it is legal, so a lot of people don't really bother to partake because it you know how that kind of becomes a thing of like, all right, whatever. So I've seen both. I've seen incredible hip hop shows where it seemed like and maybe they were still go, but like largely we loved the record so much that you wanted to get some of that. You wanted to get what you loved about the record. And I remember really, really great show. Like Onyx was incredible.
Wow.
Onyx opened up for Run DMC because they were being managed by
J.
Jam
Yeah,
Master
with
Jay
J.
at the time, and it was the Down with the
That was
King
Down with the
era.
King era, yeah.
And that was an incredible show. I've seen, obviously Cypress Hill worked out really well in Amsterdam because they,
I'm saying that I enjoyed many of our shows over there.
Yeah.
But I will also acknowledge, and the same with LA, like all of our LA shows are so high pressurized because you know
Who's in the crowd.
blah and blah is watching you over there, so you're like going all out or showing off, and it's not like the shows that I wish you guys could see, like one of them nondescript shows that we did in Italy or in France that we didn't care about, and we just were tired and went on stage. Like those shows are the best root shows that will never get seen. But I always wondered if you guys like
it's low
felt you were getting
stakes, so you don't think about it. You just be doing.
So another question I have, because the thing is, and this is for the both of you. Yeah, this thing called the Super Information Highway and the internet. Like, I'm bringing a real life magazine, or the way that Rozelle described it. He's like, yo, man, you just open up your own mall, and you're selling stores to everybody to come and do their thing, and that's what OkayPlayer is. So I thought that's as far as I could take it. So the day that someone, and they explained to me like I was a 65-year-old. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like they made their music on computer. I was like, wait, you can make studio, like it sounds like I came from Battery Studios, like a real song like that. So the way that people were explaining to me that you can now make an entire album on your computer, and check this out, Ahmir, you can email it to somebody and then they can add vocals. And I was trying to, like the way that somebody was explaining to me what it was, like why it was such a big deal that this pairing was happening. It was one of them things where I didn't know what Fruity Loops, even though like I heard you guys mention, yeah, we lose Fruity Loops. I've never to this day seen Fruity Loops, or like I'm also the guy that's just ashamed to admit I make records the old way.
Hey man,
Steve is very. See how Steve is smiling right now.
No, I never saw Fruity Loops either. I really haven't.
Well, I know that. I'm just like, you're very glad that I'm very analog with my.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, I mean, don't know that I can make my whole record
we're
on
the
this
same
thing.
age, so yes.
Yeah. So at what point? Why don't we make something of this? Because I would have never, even if you did that, like, can I rhyme over this? You never met each other. So how did you know this would work?
Man, it was just the music. It was just the music. It was just a belief in the music. I didn't know him. I didn't know nothing about him. And so finally, we would just use instant messenger. And at the time, we made Connected. I didn't even have a computer of my own. So all that whole album.
How are you making your vocals?
So how I was doing my vocals back then, we had a studio. I mean, we had our studio. We were recording the Chop Shop. We were making all the LB records. But I didn't have a personal computer in my crib. So I would go to the Chop Shop, do my vocals, and then I would mix down the MP3, and I would go to my homeboy's crib, my man MC. I would use his computer. My man Median, he had a pass to the computer lab at NC State. And so he would let us all we would be on some bootleg shit, like using his credentials to get into the computer lab at NC State. And I would like log on and be like, yo, bro, I just did this. And I would get on AIM, I would send it to him.
How long would it take to email files back?
It wasn't bad. So it wasn't email, because this is prior to like Gmail or any of that shit. Send space, none of that. This is AIM. This is AIM, Instant Messenger. And I would
you could just mail file, send files
file
that way?
sharing.
File sharing, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to. And I think we never shared WAV files because that wasn't possible.
Yeah, that wasn't back then. You couldn't do waves. So waves
he would
actually
send
had
me
to
an
sing.
MP3, and then when we were like, okay, this is really it. Like he actually snail mailed me some CDRs so that I
with
could
all
mix.
the waves on it. Yeah.
So that so it was.
Wow. And you're doing this straight to MP3.
Yeah. I'm doing this.
He's not sending like the drum track and the keyboard track.
No. This is just straight two track.
Yeah.
So how do you line up? Like, are you lining stuff Jimmy Jam style? Like Jimmy Jam revealed that for at least 80 to 90%, they never used Simpty at all.
Right.
And he would just blend the vocals, like when they would do a remix or something. Right. Are you essentially just...
So basically, I had the beat, I had the track, and then Phonte would send me a ref. Like, he would do the vocals, and he would mail me a ref, And then I would essentially line them up using the ref. So I'd be like, okay, this is my session.
This is where the lead starts.
This is what I would literally
Or you
like
leave a
by
live slate.
ear.
A live slate. Okay.
And then normally he would be like, nah, push it back for like a little, you know, give it like it was sort of like a trial and error.
Right.
And when it sounded right, you kind of knew like, okay, it sits right, but it was there was no process.
So you
to
would
it.
tell them sometimes like nudge the drums
all the
back,
way.
just
all
drag.
really with vocals. The track out, I would let him do that, but my vocals,
You would dilatize your vocals too.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
every time.
Yo, man.
Like
Aw,
still to
dude,
this
wait.
day. Like to this day.
Yeah,
like
just
still.
push it
talking
back.
about?
Yeah,
Wait
just
a
a little
minute.
nudge to the right.
Everything's 4 frames to the right. In
No.
the whole world, all the time.
Yeah.
Everything,
Bro.
everything.
Yeah, man. That's where
See,
the flavor
I
is.
gotta admit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Person, Pino is 4 frames to the right. Everybody is 4 frames to the right.
I thought you were on some Steph Curry shooting from half court. Like some of these vocals, you know, the
Yeah.
beat would be behind this, and I was like, yo,
Yeah.
like Phonte is so immaculate with how he lands.
And in many ways he is, but like it was still.
But
be
it was
like,
we would exaggerate it. I mean, naturally I would kind of be, on it. But yeah, but I would always like kind of nudge it a little to the right. But that was how we did the first album. So he was in the Netherlands and I was in Durham, and so little brother had a show at Paradiso. This was what?
and they didn't get high.
Yeah, we didn't get high. We saved that for a couple years
That was a
later.
mistake.
When we came back for Queen's Day, I was very high.
Right.
But we did what was it, like 03?
Nah, that was 04,
04,
actually.
okay.
April, yeah.
April 04. That was our first time ever meeting each other face to face. We came over and by that time we had connected damn near done.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
would
it
say
was
done.
a good, yeah, we had it pretty much
So
done.
what was the first meeting like? Because I also feel like the reflection of the music, there has to be some sort of social camaraderie. that-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Listen, bro. If you can, if you have the level of trust to send your raw vocals to somebody, I mean, that's a bond that that's just a level of intimacy and trust that it supersedes any kind of physical or any kind of whatever, because you're essentially like putting yourself out there and you're sending it to this guy that you don't know, and it's like, hey, man, I trust you with this. Make it happen. You know what I mean? And so when we met each other face to face that first time, it was just like, oh, all right, what up? It's Nick. Okay, cool.
Like, it was like almost like, yeah, I saw you yesterday, but I hadn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Ever.
Because
You know what I mean?
we had literally been working on this album like for months and months. And
Yeah.
at that time, that was when LB, we were touring heavy. So I was at the mercy of LB's touring schedule. So that first album, Connected, it took a long time to get done. Well, longer in a long time back then, but because it was just kind of, all right, I can get a couple songs done, then we go on tour for 6 weeks, whatever, come back.
How long did it take to make Connect?
We started in 02.
We started at
Oh,
the beginning
whoa.
of 02, and we were done at the end of 03.
04.
Yeah,
oh.
03. Yeah, because matter
And
of
then
fact,
it leaked, and then we had that whole
Wait, it
kerfuffle.
leaked?
It
yeah,
leaked.
Connected leak on OkayPlayer of all places.
Right,
Surprisingly,
of course.
But which board?
But wait,
the lesson, the lesson, yeah,
I'm assuming the entire creation's under your
yeah.
like possession.
Yeah, but I mean, it was at that time. I mean, it was just so loose. I mean, so like we would record, but then at the end of the session, whoever was engineering the session, if it was Ninth or if it was Crisis or whoever, like, all right, who want a copy? And we didn't think anything of it. It's like, yeah, here you go.
Oh, it was just
yeah.
getting around?
Yeah, it was just getting around. So I'm on tour at High Road, and I see like, oh shit, like
LimeWire
the
days.
whole shit is out. This is even before LimeWire. I don't even know how were people
I
getting
think it was Soul Seek.
it might have been Soul Seek.
I
Yeah,
think it was Soul
feels
Seek.
Soul Seek. So I'm like, damn, the album leaked. And, in my mind, I'm thinking like,
that an
damn, we
honor?
dead in the water.
Oh,
We
But
thought it was
that
the
shit,
end of it.
we thought it was like, damn. But we saw the response, and it was like, well, damn, people really fuck with this. So it really was kind of it was validation in a lot of ways. After, it affirmed what we kind of believed that we had. And so when I came back from tour, we did a couple extra bonus tracks. It was like, all right, it leaked, but let's do a couple extra joints. And BBE came, and we did the deal with them. That was like, we 04, I think, yeah.
Well, I think if I remember correct, we had the deal when it leaked. 'Cause
Oh,
I
wow.
remember
Okay.
thinking like, is this going to be the end of our journey? Like, will the label still mess with us? And it was one of those leaks where the response was greater than the loss of not being new, and so it worked out. But at the time, we were kind of devastated by it because but leaks at the time were very normal.
Okay.
Like Jay-Z would leak and
Yeah.
it was that time of like when people started carrying CDs out of the plant under their belts and shit.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it also
was-
means that there's like excitement because there's
No,
some
100%.
people that just
Right.
There's a million
Don't-
albums
don't
that
get-
leaked and I'll never hear. I'll never download because I just
I
don't
think
care.
at the end of the day, we took it as stride.
What were you asking, Bill?
I was going to ask, just with the track making, like you were, talking about Rhodeses and guitars and stuff. Like, what comes first for you? I'm always interested in when people are making beats. Is it rhythm heavy or is it?
I think the musical idea comes first. And that might be a chord progression, that might be a sample, that might be a bass line, but that's what I build around and drums under, if that makes sense. At the time, it was a combination. I really was interested in sampling, but I didn't have an MPC. I had a computer and I had a keyboard and a bass guitar, and I used a tracker, there was a tracking scene at the time.
Yo, Mod Plug.
Mod plug.
When he showed me that shit, dude, it looked like he was about to launch a fucking missile. I'm like, dog, what is this? Like, that was when I really saw, like, the way his brain works is just different. Because it's not, Mod Plug is a program, and I'm not like the super techie guy, but like, we recorded that first album in Cool Edit Pro, which is now Adobe Audition, but it was Cool Edit. That was what we did all the vocals in, and it's just a basic DAW, so it's, it's side to side. Mod Plug is vertical.
Yeah.
So
Like the Matrix.
No, it's
It
literally like
literally
the
looks
Matrix,
like the
bro.
Matrix when
He
you have it
pressed
running.
play on a beat, and then you
see-
just start see all this shit flying. I was like, bro, what the fuck is that? But that's what he made beats on, and I was like, yeah, he did.
So is this the legend of other beat makers that I know?
Right.
What was the standard at the time, and what? Like when I found out that Joe Ron Bombay was making these beats on Sony Acid, these really cheap, like my first Sony kind of.
Yeah.
What were you using?
I didn't know what the standard was. And my brother, my younger brother, had introduced me to trackers, which is essentially a machine code kind of thing where you can load little WAV files in and trigger them by using certain codes. And so it started with you have 4 tracks. And then all of a sudden it was 8 tracks. I think by the time I started working with them, it was like 8 tracks. And at some point you had 16 tracks of having sounds together.
So you're doing a song like Daykeeper with this sort of
So
primitive.
Daykeeper at that point I had at least 60, but yeah, I did Daykeeper like that. I did Take Off, like
the
all
whole
of the
first
connected-
album, all the
first
connected,
two
first
kinda
2 records, yeah.
The Leave It All Behind album, I started getting into Pro Tools because somebody told me like, look, dog, like if you need
There's
to,
another way.
right?
Make it a little easier.
You need to really professionalize, or need to was a big word, but like they were like, yo, most of the pros use Pro Tools, and so I started, but like.
Wait, I don't feel bad now because one of the things that I feel horrible about. All right, you see the smug look on Steve's face right now.
Man.
I'm in such a zone with this Endgame record right now with the Roots, but when I tell you the embarrassingly kind of primitive way that I'm building this record, like yes, I read how half of Nation of Millions was built by them as an actual jam session.
Right.
Each guy had a 1200, manually pressing the samples by themselves, not programming shit.
And even the mixes too, they would mix
Right.
live and bring stuff
And
up there.
the Beastie Boys admitted that every sample in Paul's Boutique was basically just lined up one by one, and then they would just do that. But there's no like programming and stuff. And so like I'm also inspired by like again like the whole Sony Acid story and that sort of thing. So like I've been like
You think you're the Lost Bomb Squad member? or
yeah,
something.
I do. I just, I do. But it's just the fact that, like, sometimes I let it get to me that, see, you're not a real beat maker. Like, you're actually looping the stuff from your Serato DJ thing, like,
Hey man.
and
Whatever works.
Exactly, and
Right.
I think I had a little bit of that. I guess what you call it, imposter syndrome.
imposter syndrome, right?
Where you're like, okay, I'm not using the like. I remember the first time we met up after we met for the first time,
Right.
And Connected had been pressed up. We met in New York in July of 2004, and we did something called Beat Society, which is where producers come out and essentially play their beats.
That's right.
And so I came
Yeah,
out with
shout
my
out to
little
Steph.
laptop.
You did Beat Society?
I
Yeah,
did.
shout
I
out
did
to
Beat
Steph
Society
Tatas,
and Knitting
yeah.
Factory, and that's when the first time we literally performed together. But
Mm-hmm.
I came out with my laptop, and I realized, like, okay, like everybody else is using MPCs, and
Right.
I'm just here like as though I'm checking my email.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Looking
But
like
I
craft
would
work
just,
on
you
stage,
know,
right?
you're right, like craft work. Like, but it was one of the first times where I realized, like, yeah, I had no idea. I had no real knowledge of how the music was made, and I just used what I know. Again, my brother had introduced me to. I knew Cubase existed and stuff like that, but I didn't have that. So it became a weapon of choice. It became my secret weapon because I learned to use it in such a way that I could really make it do whatever I wanted.
Yeah. And that was our story, I think. Like a big part. It was really just about using the tools you have, just making do with what you have. You know, it was when people would ask, like, "Oh man, so making the internet, like, oh man, making an album, that's so crazy." Like it was just this crazy idea.
And I'm one of those people.
Yeah, but I'm just like, dude, he was in the Netherlands, I was in Durham. What else
us,
are we gonna fucking do?
For us, it was kind of
Yeah,
we never
just-
even thought about it like that. We were just like, yo, like I like what you're doing. He likes what I'm doing. Let's do it.
When you're part of the analog generation, though, and I was a very much stuck in my ways person, I just couldn't fathom, like, wait, I don't see how they're doing that. Like, emailing stuff at the same time. And, like, it was just such a storied, uncharted thing. Was this before, like, when did GarageBand come out?
GarageBand was that was later. GarageBand for me personally, I started in GarageBand 2009. 2009. That was when I built my studio at home, and so I had everything, all the old LB stuff, like the first two Foreign Exchange albums. That was at the Chop Shop in Durham, and we tracked all those vocals and cool-let it. And then 2009, I built my studio at the crib, and I used GarageBand. So like Authenticity, my first solo album, Charity Starts at Home, all those records, like those are all GarageBand. I cut all that stuff in GarageBand. It was free.
At the time, it was free.
Yeah.
What is it? The game changer that people claim that it was, or
I don't know. I don't know if I say it. For me, it wasn't so much a game changer. I think it was just by that time I had learned that, like, listen, it doesn't matter what you're recording into. It's all about the signal that you're sending. You gotta in the recording process. Really, the recording engineer is God. You know what I mean? Because
You hear that, Steve?
it's not gonna your
This is
your
God
song,
speaking.
the record, oh my fault, bro. The recording engineer, because your song is not gonna rise above whatever the signal is. So, you know, if you got a choice between buying, you know, a crazy mic, a $3,000 mic or whatever, but you haven't treated your room first, that mic is just gonna pick up your room. You know what I mean? So you probably would be better off spending some money treating your room, and you get a little $200 something, and, you know, you can make that work. And so that was kind of my approach. And so I started doing those records in GarageBand, and what I liked about it, it was simple. And then also when I upgraded to Logic in like 2012, Logic is basically GarageBand on steroids. So how I learned Logic was I would take my old GarageBand sessions and open them up in Logic and just kind of work backwards and be like, oh, okay, so this is what reverb is, this is where the delays is, and I would learn it like that. So GarageBand for me, I mean, you know, people clowned on it, but I made crazy records in GarageBand.
But Logic was around for a long time before it turned into the Logic we know today. There was
Yeah.
like a Logic that was that had the node.
The
and all
E-Magic
that.
Logic?
Yeah, the
Oh
E-Magic.
God,
That was like-
that was
that
E-Magic.
looked what I think is like your like Matrix. It was really hard to understand, and that's when there was like a Pro Tools sequencer, and then finally Logic became the visual thing that it is today. And I think that's what people liked about GarageBand was we looked at it and it was pleasing to look at and easy to use.
Nah, because you got to think about it. Like if you mixing something, I mean, you're looking at that screen for fucking hours. So it was really, from my experience, it was really intuitive. It was just very easy to use. And I was not the super techie, like, engineer guy. I just kind of knew what I liked and just kind of how to get that, and that was it. You know what I mean?
So when do you think you'll ever have enough money to buy Pro Tools?
Nah, I'm Logic, dog. I'm Logic to the end.
okay, so what was the session like when you guys are in the same time zone together and in the studio together?
Totally fucked.
We've
Like-
never been in the studio together.
Right.
Wait, what? To
We've
this
never
day?
been in the studio together. No.
Yeah, no.
No.
To this day?
Never.
Now we this is kind of like I
And
liken
is
this.
this the rule of the group?
Yeah,
You must email?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
yeah.
liken it to Prince not wanting to meet
Claire
Claire
Fisher.
Fisher.
Right.
Like we had such a chemistry going in this way. Like I've always explained it to people. Like we each take care of our part of the music in such an inhibited personal way that we can fully realize what we have in mind, and then we send it to the other person.
Right.
Versus like being in the
Let
same
me
room
sit in here and listen to this kick
are
drum
you-
for 3
right, are you-
hours.
right.
Like,
Or
yeah.
are you sure about that word? Or you know what I mean? Like we
Right.
always sort of kept it our 50-50 percent of the total separate and would send each other, I guess, fully realized
Mm-hmm.
versions of stuff that we thought could work. And by the time that I came to the States and started my career here, it almost felt like it would really break the magic. So we never have, like to this
Yeah.
day.
So, can you just briefly tell our listeners, viewers, how did the community of musicians come together for these projects?
Man, so Zoe was someone, I actually met Zoe, this was in 2005, maybe 6. This is right after Minstrel Show it came out. And Zoe had been remixing, he did remixes for a couple LB records. And the thing I always listen for producers when they would remix our stuff had hooks and singing hooks in it. So every producer could always lock in on the rhymes. It's like you could hear it. It's like, okay, y'all got it. Y'all match the beat. Okay, cool. What this goddamn hook about to sound like? Is this shit in the same key?
Right.
And the hook would come in and it would just be a fucking train
All
wreck.
over the place.
You know what I mean? And so Zoe was one of the guys. Like he had put up a remix that he had did The Way You Do It. And I was like, that's the way you do it, man. Come on, I hope he ain't fuck this up. I did not know who he was at all, and I just heard. I was like, oh, he smoked this shit. So we did a show, LB show, in I think Ann Arbor or something. But he pulled up, gave me a copy of his record. He was like, I'm Zoe. I was like, oh man, yo, yeah, yeah, check it. So he gives me a copy of his record. I think it was the Passion and Definition album.
Okay.
And so it was just an instrumental record he did. And again, I'm still kind of cynical because we had just been getting trashed that whole fucking tour. And so I finally got it home. And I'm like, all right, let me give him a shot. Let me put it on. Track 1 was dope. I'm like, all right, I bet track 2 won't be dope. Track 2 was dope. I'm like, okay, is he gonna go 3 in a row? He went like 12 in a row or whatever, how many songs on that. He was just smoking that shit. So I reached out to him, was like, hey man, like your shit is hard, bro. Like, you know, you want to do something, whatever. And we just started collaborating. And so that was how he came into the fold. And then when we did If She Breaks Your Heart, Nick and I had the idea of like, okay, Zoe, like he does like the first half, and then Nick did like the second kind
part.
of, you know, not for hero, but
Yeah, the
somewhat,
bossa.
yeah, bossa, yeah. And we got
yeah.
shout out to Mark Mack who did the string arrangement
Yeah,
on that
Mark
too, man.
Mack. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of how he came, and everybody else, man, they were just all people that, like, you know, Carlitta was a student at Central at the time. And we needed a hook for a song, and Yahzarah, Yahzarah again. She and I went to school together. We went to Central together. Darien Brockington, he and we went to Central together.
Okay.
Carlitta, she was a Central student. She was Yahzarah was supposed to sing on a song one night, and I called her to do the hook. She was out of town. Called my man. He was like, yo, dog, I know this singing chick from Central. I'm like, okay. And he shows up, and it was Carlitta, and she did the hook for Life of the Party, for the LB song. And from that, we just started working together. Man, I mean, shit. Muhsinah was somebody. My man, shouts to my man Cousin B, who's he's NPR Tiny Desk guy now. Muhsinah had a MySpace page. And we had just started. I think we had kind of started Leave It All Behind. We might have had maybe 1-2 tracks, but she had a MySpace page, and she had a song on it called Millions. And me and Darien Brockington, we were on tour with LB, and we were roommates. Cousin B sends me the link. He like, yo man, check this chick. She sound like Georgia, and I was like, oh shit. He's talking about Georgia and Muldrow. And I listened to Millions, and if that song had 1,000 plays on her MySpace, 990 of them was me and
Were
Brock.
you? Okay.
We played that shit. I was like, holy shit. And I just reached out to her and was like, yo, man, I'm working on a new Effie album. I don't know if you know who I am, whatever, but I think you dope. Couple months later, she came down to the crib. You know what I'm saying? We locked in, and we did Daykeeper, House of Cards, and Something to Behold for Leave It All Behind. Man, I'm thinking everybody else. Yeah, I always looked at, because our division of labor, Nick is very much the music, and I'm more like personnel. You know what I'm saying, production and that side. So I always looked at FE albums whenever people would ask me, like, yo, what do you listen to? I put the people that I was listening to on the albums. I'm like, yo, Muhsinah, this is who I'm fucking with. Gwen Bunn, shouts to her. She was just another artist out of Atlanta, and she did a record. She did a record for my man Daryl Reeves. She did a cover of Every Time I See You by Roy Ayers.
Okay.
And smoked that shit.
Whoa.
I was like, dude, who the fuck is this? He was like, it's my girl Gwen. She came to the show that night. You know what I mean? We hooked up and did Can't Turn Around, and we did like a couple other records.
Like
We on
after-
the Move. She's singing on that.
After the show, or just
This was maybe like a couple months afterwards.
Okay.
BeMyFiasco, who's like the latest signing on our label. She was somebody who was based out of Dallas, and she would just always Twitter. There's another kind of like the OkayPlayer next
Right.
kind of wave. She was someone who big FE fan, would come to our shows. And one day, much like Nicolay, she came on Twitter and was like, yo, this is a new record by me. Check this out. It's very Foreign Exchange influence. And I thought it was dope. So I hit her one time and I was like, hey, man, do you have the ability to record at your home? You got your own setup? She was like, yeah. So I put her on the record I did with Robert Townsend. The record I did with Glasper, Violets, the Miles Davis
Yeah.
joint. That's her singing on that. And I would just put her on records. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, sing this. She sings something, and like, we would just rock like that. So 2021.
none of you guys are meeting, or like
Nah, this is all online. Cy Smith.
this be called blind date.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. I mean, listen, it's just man.
Because to me, it just gels so. The final results gel so good that
Thank
I
you, man.
imagine that you guys were in the room together.
we were all those records, all that stuff was done pretty much remotely. I think around the
Pre-COVID
time-
record making.
No, listen. So when COVID hit, that's crazy. So when COVID hit, because a lot of times for the vocals, like that was my side. So my house used to be the spot where everyone recorded it because I had to set up and everything. So that's where we would track the vocals. But COVID hit, and it was just like, well, we can't do that. So we just pretty much invested and set all our team up. It's like, all right, look, y'all need this. We're going to get y'all this. The mic, you need this compressor, you need this, you need that. And we just set our team up remotely. So all through COVID, we was still cooking. We ain't miss a beat.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And so that
So
was
y'all
how we
just
did
buy
it.
the right equipment for each other. And then-
Yeah, man. Just like, okay, you need this compressor. I'm a big fan of the LA2A. I don't want to go too nerdy with it, but I'm a big fan of the LA2A compressor. That's just my favorite. It's just two knobs. It's like, you know what I mean? It's simple. Like, it's like the big green egg of compressors. You know
You got that Steve Big Green egg.
I mean-
Last time a barbecue and a microphone were together.
now,
Well, like that. I'm trying to think of Cy Smith. We did her album. She came and God, when did Cy come on? It was
So
like
I met Cy in 04. I did a record with Cy in 04.
the Aquarius Rising joint.
Yeah, and then we had a show in 2010 where we needed a new female vocalist, and I was like, well, I could call Cy, but she's going to have a chemistry with Phonte. We're going to have to see, and that worked out very
Cy
well.
was-
So Cy went to Europe with us, and I think with all of the people that we've ever had on our roster, it was partly musical talent, partly like the hangability factor.
That's the big part.
Like,
But I just
That's
wonder
everything.
about that, like, because I've seen situations where new members will get inducted into shows and the chemistry might not be right,
Right.
and that affects the show that you see. You guys are like touring together, doing shows, and always wondered how, and actually doing like nice little presentational things. Like I'm wondering like how you guys even rehearsing.
Well, rehearsing, we got to do that in person. You can't rehearse online. But
Right.
yeah, we would rehearse and
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot, yeah, because it's still
The first show of the tour was sort
That's
of
the
normally
rehearsal.
the
That was rehearsal.
right.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we would just like start with that. And Zoe actually, when we did Leave It All Behind, that was really a thing where Nick and I, we kind of saw ourselves more as like a Steely Dan kind of studio band.
Right.
We had no intentions of touring whatsoever, like none. And so Leave It All Behind came out, and our management, director of ops at the time, Amy, she called me one day and was like, yo, this is right after the album came out. And she was like, yo, Nokia Theater, they want to book y'all for a show. And we was like, a show? What are you talking about? She was like, they want a foreign exchange show. Nick and I had no idea how we were going to present this material.
Go up on stage and play an MP3.
Yeah,
Right.
Listen, I
We
mean,
coulda done
we
that.
could have did that.
Yeah.
But
we
that was
knew-
when I called. I was like, yeah, we got to build this up. So that was when I hit Zoe, and I was like, yo, bro, like, you know, you want to help with this? And he became our MD. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
That's
so,
how- okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of how it came. But yeah, man, we were just making records purely just to make the records. We had no idea, no clue of wanting to present it live. Like, that just was not on our radar.
So, what response was it when you guys got nominated for a Grammy? Were you guys actively campaigning for it?
I had no
or you
clue.
just woke up
None.
one day and they were like, congratulations?
No, that's legit. No, legit. I
So-
was knocked out.
Right.
And,
what
yeah.
had happened was we never really submitted it. You know how nowadays somebody has to submit it.
campaigning, right?
At the time, there were these committees. I think they at this point have done away with them because there were some concerns about democracy. And
Yeah, they don't even have. I think the category we've been nominated for is not even.
the category
existing
doesn't
anymore.
even exist. But
Well,
essentially,
they retitled it something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What happened was somebody on the committee at the time, and I know who it is, but that's not really super relevant, entered that record as a record with merit that hadn't been selected by the members,
Right.
just as another suggestion. And it made it through the nominations list, which is kind of miraculous because we never campaigned. And so Yahzarah
Yeah.
called me and she was like, "Are you sitting down?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, should I be?" And she's like, "Tomorrow the nominations are going to come out and we're in it." And I just didn't really it took a while to register because like as
Right.
much as I was very sure of our merit, like that was beyond my wildest dreams, as I'm sure you would have been the first time. Like, as much as you strive for that sort of professional acknowledgement, we were so niche in a lot of ways. And at the same time, I guess we had touched enough people that it went all the way up there. So I called Phonte. Phonte was asleep. I don't know if I left you a voicemail.
Nah,
or-
you called. We talked. I remember that. I was knocked
Yeah,
out.
you woke up
And you
were
was like, "Yo,
"All right."
bro, we won the Grammy. Well, we up for a Grammy." I was like, "Oh shit, word up, all right."
All right, peace.
And I went back to sleep. And
That's
so
the
it
reaction to
didn't get
everything.
real to me until I woke up, and then I saw, because this is back on the BlackBerry days. You know what I'm saying, bro? My shit was going crazy because this is like
It's like
early
your
days
birthday.
of Twitter. Yeah, it was just boom, 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 boom. I was like, oh shit, we got nominated for a Grammy. And so yeah, it was just crazy. I think for us, it really was just a validation of our art, and it just was like, you know, we did that record ourselves. Like, we had no machine behind us. It was no major label. Like, it was none of that. It was just me, Nick, and Amy just thugging that shit out. It was a moment for me because that was, I talked about it in the doc too. Just on the business side, foreign exchange was the first time that in my time in the music business, that was the first time I was ever really paid for my work, like ever. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? That was the first time I really
we
saw.
got to enjoy some cake. And
Oh yeah. Like we did Leave It All Behind, and you know, we just put it out, and we had talked about, because at that time I think BBE, they was knocking, they wanted to re-up, they wanted to do.
Yeah,
we
they
had a
were-
meeting with
they
BBE,
were interested in it.
And we looked at the deal, and the deal was cool. And BBE, shouts to BBE, shouts to Pete. Eddie B, all
Yeah,
of them.
Eddie B,
No, they
yeah.
did right by us on Connected. So we were open. We was like, all right, yeah, let's see. But by that time, you know, Nick and I was like, yo, man, like, bro, what if we try to do this ourselves, man? I think we can do this. And so, you know, Neo over here, he ran the numbers through his matrix. and was like, he was like, yeah, man. So I think, yeah, da 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 da. I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's go. And so we did it. And so, yeah, my first check, like our first statement off the first month of sales of Leave It All Behind was like 25 grand. That was more than I had seen off the last 4 or 5 Little Brother albums, 3 albums at that time.
Wow.
And so, and it wasn't so much, it was again, just having what I saw was just the transparency of like, listen, dude, if I owe you $1, just show me a piece of paper saying that how I owe you this $1. You know what I mean? But I had never had that at no point in my career.
I
no
still haven't
financial
had that moment.
Right.
Fam.
My,
And a
my
lot
check
of
was
people
like
have
4
not.
cents hanging up in the studio.
So finally, when we put out that record, man, that was really the start of our label, and we started it in 2008. So this is like right around the time. This is like when the economy is like going crazy, like right around the crash and everything. And I think my mentality was, all right, if we can launch a label during a fucking recession and survive, then we can make this shit. And it's been 16 years. And the Grammy nod was it was incredible. Just have that experience. And I think me and we had our suits and all that shit.
I remember.
What's wrong with y'all? Shit, I forgot.
Oh yeah, you was on with us at
And
the,
we're
at the
actually-
brunch, at the
there-
Moja brunch.
Yeah, there were 2
What year was
Questlove
this?
related memories. Like you invited us to the Roots Jam.
The Roots Jam, yeah, we did.
The Grammy Jam, which was a big honor. We did Daykeeper that night.
Yeah, yeah.
But you also sat in with us. Like I remember, like so it was me and Tay and Yahzarah on stage, and I was just doing the keyboards. And I remember hearing some drums at some point. This was not pre-planned,
Right.
and you just sat in with us, and it was like one of those things that I'll never forget because it was really kind of it was a moment for us that felt like we were accepted by a larger group. Like obviously you had been a champion of us in general through OkayPlayer, but like it was kind of that moment where you realize like, okay, we might have a future in this. Like this might be, there were a lot of people that we met.
Nah, getting props from the OGs. I remember
Like,
we did Kiss and Grind. We performed at Victor's thing, and we performed with a pickup band for the first and last time ever. We ain't never doing that shit no more. We never doing that shit no more.
Right.
But during sound check, Weird Singers, me, Yaz, it was just me and Yaz at that time. I don't think Darien wasn't with us.
No, he
then.
wasn't. Yeah.
It was just me and Yaz was singing, and so afterwards, I walk off stage. And it's this lady there, and I'm looking at her trying to figure out who she is, and she's like, that was some real singing right there. And I love that was some good singing. I like that. It's fucking Ann Nesby from Sounds of Blackness. And I'm just like, holy shit. You know what I mean? So
That
Yeah,
was the year we met.
Layla, Jimmy Jam, yeah.
Quincy Jones, Charlie
Wilson.
Yeah. Like it was really kind of, we were rubbing shoulders with everybody that we admired, and we went to all of the events that, like the irony is like as a Grammy nominee, you don't get to go for free. It's still a pricey endeavor, and we didn't really have the money to campaign.
Right.
So we just like, look, we're gonna go to all of these events. Like there's a producer thing at the Village studio, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like all of the things that you're very familiar with. We did hire a publicist to help us through the red carpet thing, like, because that was like recommended that we would to make the most of it.
Yes.
But it was kind of like one of those things where we realized like, as much fun as it is, like, I don't know if we truly belong here. And at the same time, the acceptance of it felt really good. I remember personally feeling very proud because this was something I could tell my parents and my family, and it made what I did very real. Versus like, oh, I just make me, you know what I mean? It was kind of
thing you do with your friend in the United States.
Yeah, right. It was
You
a
and your little
moment of
friend.
like, okay, this is like kind of a real thing. And so, but
And
we
afterwards,
haven't really ever pursued another nomination, like in the same way, because like ultimately, I think we both realized that for us, it was much more important to make the music versus being the campaigners.
Yeah, like literally as soon as it was over with, as soon as like, Jam announced, the India wine for the joint, I think me and Nick just kind of looked at each other and was like, all right, bro, so you ready to get back in the studio? Like, we was
Looking like we're out of time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were like, all right, we out of time. I'm like, yeah, we can, you ready to go back to the studio? We was just cool.
Fon,
So,
what year was this?
That was
2008.
Nah, that was
the
20,
actual 2010.
Yeah, 2010. Yeah,
okay.
because album dropped in 08, end of 08, 09. So yeah, 2010.
9 is when the nomination happened, and then
then
January of
2010.
2010.
But I do have to know, how hard was it for you to sort of uproot yourself from living over there in the Netherlands and coming to the United
Trump
States
country.
to be
Right
in
in the
North
middle.
Carolina?
Look, dead ass in the middle of it.
What year did you move?
I moved in 06.
Oh,
Basically, what happened was Connected did really good.
Right.
And BBE, our man
this
Eddie
story.
B, was our A&R guy at he ran the American part of BBE, which we never dealt with the UK guy so much. And Eddie was like, look, man, Eddie had a vision of like a roster of releases that were all foreign exchange related, like a Nicolay album, maybe
A Darien album, yeah.
Darien album, maybe a Yahzarah album. And so he first brought up to me, he was like, look, like if you want, we could sponsor you for a visa, because that's what would be required. And so they ended up doing it. I realized that at the time, kind of going back to our conversation of how my sound was perceived at America, I knew that back in Europe, I didn't have a chance to really pursue a music career, certainly not in a touring capacity or otherwise. So, and my dream was, again, like as this music that I saw as inherently American, it felt like it made sense to come to the States and pursue a music career. And so I was awarded with an E1 visa, which was a big deal. But yeah, it involved leaving, and that's what Leave It All Behind partly alludes to. It did involve leaving my family. Like my parents are still there, my brother and sister. So it's been bittersweet in the sense that it was the right decision to make, but it wasn't an easy decision to make. And it will always be something where I realized that I did have to leave something behind that is not necessarily easy to replace.
What city did you move?
So I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, because
So it's
so
the
this
beach,
is a
yeah.
kind
The
of
airport,
a
right?
Yeah. It's a beach town right on the coast.
This is
Yeah.
got like a cool sort of quick anecdote that made me realize that North Carolina was kind of always in my crosshairs. As a kid, I had a jigsaw puzzle, and it was a mansion, just like a southern mansion with a lot of magnolias.
Okay.
And I really liked jigsaw puzzles as a kid, and I would make this jigsaw puzzle. And basically what I found out once I moved to the Wilmington area was that mansion on that puzzle is actually a mansion that is there in that local area, which I would have never known. So that made it almost
Wow,
like a
so-
serendipity
yeah.
kind of thing.
Manifestation.
And I remember North Carolina had this sort of magic to it by way of Phonte and everybody that was there. It seemed like Foreign Exchange already before I moved was a North Carolinian group. And so he would talk about Raleigh, he would talk about Durham. And it always, I always thought, what if one day I actually get to be there and sort of know what that is like. And even yesterday, we took a little trip to sort of see a lot of those early locations where Phonte's her first apartment after college. And
Yeah,
a
well, I
lot
wrote all those songs.
yeah.
Is this
So-
near? So when I think of North Carolina and beach life, I think of Cape Fear.
Yeah.
Is this near
It's
Cape Fear?
literally Cape Fear River. I'm on the Cape Fear
You live in
River.
Cape Fear?
Yep. I'm on the Cape
The
Fear
amount of
River.
times for Tariq and I, the soundtrack to Organics is we get home from recording at 2, 3 in the morning. We either watch Do the Right Thing and Cape Fear.
Yeah.
Just night after night.
Weird selection.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's the most opposite. Okay,
Right.
continue, sorry.
Yo, no, it's just but it was a tradition. We get Amos. Oh my
was
God,
like,
I almost
Amos and
said
Andy? I was like,
Amos.
that-
I almost said Amos and Andy cookies. We would get famous Amos
There you
cookies,
go.
a half gallon of orange juice, and then you just get in the crib and because the news would be on. It was 92. Cable culture was sort of the thing, but we didn't have the internet, so it's just all right, get your VHS tape that has Do the Right Thing and
then
Cape Fear. And to like 6 in the morning. Watch it every night. So that is
Yeah.
great.
Was that the remake or the original with Gregory
I'm
Peck?
a
Robert De Niro
Scorsese.
joint?
I like both
Yeah.
versions, but
Yeah.
Scorsese's version's my favorite version.
Yeah. So back to your question, like it's been, like I think in a lot of ways, like I've learned a lot about America in those years, a lot through the people that I've surrounded myself with. I came here sort of when it was Obama era. And it felt very,
You learned the repercussions of that.
Right. I've been now through the
How's it going now?
Or the white
right.
lash.
So it's been really interesting. Obviously, it's politically a completely different world from what I'm used to, but that's a whole nother story. But it's been interesting. It's been really. I often tell people that in order to appreciate where you're from, it is sometimes helpful to not be there for a while. And so like the interesting thing is once I moved, I gained a much greater appreciation for where I'm from
Going back home.
And it just all of a sudden started looking a little bit like different, and that's been very interesting.
This is a like really for me an important moment in development history, and hopefully history is kind to you guys in terms of really acknowledging how early you guys were in the game of how we now make music. Like, you guys were so early in this level of the first digital generation, pre-SoundCloud,
Pre-Gmail.
yes, pre-Gmail, right.
Social
Right.
media.
Like
No
straight
Google.
up.
Like,
Yeah.
what was Google back then? So
Nah, man, it was really not. It was OkayPlayer really was. I mean, it was just, I don't think y'all understood what y'all built, but, it really was, just you were able to really find your tribe there. And, I don't think Nick and I would have found each other on any other site. We wouldn't have found each other on, anywhere else. It was just that fucking online asylum that is OkayPlayer that we found each other. And our movement with FE, it really was, a lot of it was inspired by Soulquarians, of course, by Dungeon Family, just understanding the power of having a crew and that y'all each work to make each other better and like collaborate with each other, and you're able to keep records out without burning yourself out. You know what I'm saying? If you got to do a Phonte solo album every year for 5 years, you done. Like, it's over. You know what I mean? But if it's okay, I got FE,
and
I
that
can do a
allows you
solo.
to do other
We can
projects.
produce for other people. We can write. We can do things. We can do Sesame Street songs. Like, all kind of
Right.
shit.
That's what's up.
So nah, man, it was that level of community was certainly influenced by Soulquarians. Again, Organized Noise. Just all of just those big collectives, just seeing y'all in that vibe, the infamous vibe picture.
Yes,
You know what I mean? That kind of
For real though.
But seeing that and being like, okay, like we can do that. And Yahzarah at the time, she was singing for Erica, singing background for Erica. So she was one of the first people that I saw as a professional musician and like saw what that grind was like. You know what I mean? And so, man, I'm just thankful, but it was all came full circle.
Well,
and
we're gonna have to also do like a part 2 story, because we didn't even get to my favorite. Like, I didn't get to talk about Flying Colors or like
Oh, thank you, man.
authenticity or like any of my favorite moments off the records. But
You could do a part 2 online or whatever.
yes,
I'm with it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, do it online. Do it Foreign Exchange style.
Right.
sense, actually.
Right. The one time we should definitely did it that way. All right, go back home, both of y'all. No, on behalf of OkayPlayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
And
for sure.
Yes, on behalf of OkayPlayer and then on behalf of QLS, Bill, Steve. Wait, where did Laia go? She was just here. Laia, myself, and of course, the fam of QLS. Thanks, Foreign Exchange, for joining us for this episode, in-person episode of Questlove Supreme. We'll see you on the next go round, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Questlove Supreme. This podcast is hosted by Ahmir Questlove Thompson, Big Boss Man, Laia St. Clair, So Blackity Black, myself, Phontigallo, Phonte Coleman, Sugar Steve Mandel, and unpaid Bill Sherman. The executive producers are Ahmir, Questlove, Thompson, Sean G, and the unbothered Brian Calhoun. Produced by Brittany Benjamin, my dog, Cousin Jake Payne, my motherfucking man, and Laia St. Clair, my work wife. Edited by Alex Conroy. Produced for iHeart by Noah Brown.
Questlove Supreme is a production of iHeartRadio.